exciting.
It's very exciting, Rúna. And we're going to be talking about
it's very
2016.
Looking at 2016. Can I start with, Nick? I really want to start with a year ago, you and I and several of our buddies at the ATL in Europe, the Association of Transformational Leaders in Europe, we went together on a hangout where we were coming together and sharing what we saw as what could possibly 2015 could possibly give. And it's interesting now that we look back in time and see what actually happened. Nick, you shared something really fabulous with us a year ago. Can you share? Should we go a little bit over that?
Yeah, let's go backwards. Let's look at what we said was going to happen and what actually happened. And then we'll try and do it. Then we'll look forward and we'll see what we think will happen. So it's interesting. I just watched the recording fairly recently of what you were saying and I was saying and our other ATLers were saying at the end of 2014 about what 2015 would bring. And I was listening to some of the things and I'm thinking, wow, damn, that was good. That was really good. Because what we were saying that in 2014, we'd had this big surge of energy as the economy got going. And 2015, what would happen there would be a number of things. One was that any misalignment we had within the way we were working or would really be amplified because of the amount of energy that had come into the economy, the amount of energy that had come into business, the amount of vibrancy that was there within the world. It's a bit like if you're driving in a really fast car, and the car starts speeding up and going really, really fast. Anything that's sticking out or misaligned or not really aerodynamic would start to really rattle and shake and be a problem. And with a lot of clients, people I was working with, you could really see what was aligned and fantastic. They just flew with and they loved, and everything that was just a bit not quite right really slapped them around. So that was the first thing that we said might happen, and that certainly did happen. Another thing that we were saying about happening was that it would get much noisier out there in terms of the marketplace, in terms of people communicating and selling, and just generally that whole kind of marketing world. It would get much, much noisier. And again, if you weren't really aligned with what you were saying, then they wouldn't have that authenticity and you wouldn't necessarily stand out, and it would be a struggle. And again, I don't know whether that happened with a lot of you and your clients, but a lot of people I would work with, if they had that mismatch, the marketplace just ignored them.
Yeah. So basically, if there was anything that wasn't really aligned, something that didn't, because of all the hassleness and all that, it's just basically crazy noise. Yeah. So if something wasn't really authentic and aligned with your message and everything, then it just went poof away.
Too noisy, too fast. And the third thing that kind of we were looking at what was going to be happening in 2015 was to do with internal and external relationships. So it was a year when we would start to see some disruption, some revolution, some challenging of the old ways, the ways that things had been, and say, okay, this is going to be new sorts of relationships are going to be formed in 2015. And I was looking at it in two directions. I was saying that your external relationships, who you work with, partnerships, etc., we would see some disruption, some change, some challenging of the status quo. And then looking at your internal relationship with yourself and the challenge that would come and the disruption that would come, because you would have to look at yourself in a different way in 2015. So it was quite a challenging year in terms of relationships. So if we look just externally, we saw some very gentle things starting to be formed at the beginning of 2015. But then by the end of 2015, we were starting to see kind of Russia and America suddenly joining forces with trying to sort out a particular problem, and these strange alliances going on. So it was quite an interesting time, and certainly with the people I was working with, their internal relationship with themselves was quite challenging at times, saying, actually, you know what, I can be different. I can have a different way of working. And you and I, Rúna, we talked about this whole busy time. We must become more selective. We can't do our standard way of doing things, which is, oh, I love that, I'm going to do 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 everything. We had to actually become a different person and be far more selective in order to deal with the faster energy that was out there.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting. We have, do you know, we have audience with us right now. So.
Oh, have we? Fantastic.
We do have people. So the people that are joining us, this is actually the first time that Nick and I are trying out the BLAB platform. So if you like what we're talking about, feel free to tweet and post and get people to come with us. Yeah. You will be taking some questions, won't you, if the questions pop up? Because I know you have everything that you have, Nick, around how you can stay in the flow and basically just vibrant with your vitality is what you are all about, and I know you do it so brilliantly.
Thank you.
So I agree with you. 2015 was, I think, a year that many people, many entrepreneurs especially, found themselves that they were like screaming out there in the marketplace, trying to get some attention, and really feeling frustrated that as the more they screamed, the less attention they got.
Yeah. It was a year of two things going on. What worked really well, and what didn't worked really badly. It wasn't a mediocre reaction from the marketplace. I think the really interesting thing that's going to come up, and this is that the next year we've got, because just for people that are listening, the kind of background that Rúna and I come from this, we're coming from looking at it from three different directions. The first one is we're looking at the state of the economy, where the economy is within its cycle, and we look at that from an energy point of view, that we've moved out of this stuck recession phase into this kind of spring, everything gets going, starts new, and then we've moved into this kind of fiery stage where the economy is probably at its hottest, or is about to go its hottest. So we're looking at the economy. We're also looking at the Chinese New Year's, the energetic year that's going on, and then this wider, longer wave that's going on underneath. So we're kind of looking at how people fit with that. So 2016, we've got a really, really interesting dynamic coming up. We move into a fire monkey year. So the fire energy, it's a first fire energy year for a long, long time. The other years have been very disruptive, very challenging, very reflective, what makes us really kind of look very deeply. 2012 was a very deep year when we had to look deep within ourselves as to what we were really about and what the world was really about. Then we started being very disruptive in 2014, 2015 were very disruptive years where it would really challenge the way that we did things. So this is the first year, 2016, it starts kind of beginning of February, where we start to have a much lighter time. The fire energy is about fun, it's about laughter, it's about communication, it's about joy, it's about coming from the heart. So it's a fun energy. So we can start to go out of this quite heavy stuff. Mm-hmm. And the monkey is a year that is within Chinese astrology is again, it's a fun animal. It's a bit cheeky. You can play jokes. You can have fun. So this is a year where, from a Chinese energetic point of view, it's about having fun. It's about being cheeky. It's about doing different things. So it's a much lighter year. The challenge is, though, that it's also the year in which the economy gets a bit buzzier and a bit hotter and will probably start to peak and slow down. So we can and should have fun, but we've also got to be mindful that everything we say has to count, because it would be a very, very noisy marketplace again, even more so. So we've got to be fully aligned with who we are, and everything we say has to count. But it is more about having fun than any other year for the last kind of 6 or so years.
It's more about having fun, but still that you need to be really aligned with who you really authentically are, which I think is really interesting. And I know most of us are actually not quite sure who this person is.
But remember,
come on.
Remember, Rúna, that you having fun will be one thing. Someone else's having fun could be, I'm going to have fun in 2016. I'm going to do spreadsheets all year long. It's going to be the awesome fun year. It's just going to be great. It's whatever is fully in your place of joy. And you talk about you've got this wonderful, you've got the happiness test, you've got the happiness zone, and it's kind of very much into, you know what, it's about what makes you happy. It's not about inanely laughing. It's about actually, so 2016 will be really tapping in to, as you call it, your X factor, your sexy factor, your happiness zone. It's a year about really, really tapping into that. But it's not necessarily a year where we can say yes to everything, because that's a challenge within these fire energy years. We become enthusiastic and joyful because we're really enjoying it, and as a result of doing what we love, we get lots of opportunities. But this is a year when we've got to be really selective about what we actually take on and what we actually do. Really important.
If ever. So I know now people can go into your website, the vitalitytest.com, and take the vitality test to see how their energy chart really looks like. And I believe me, this is one of the tool that I use with my clients today. It not only helps me helping them, but it just kind of gives my clients such a deep perspective of who they really are and how what they look like in the eyes of others, which I think very good for branding. I mean, this is what we need to do when we're looking at our personal brand.
But it's also, Rúna, it's also saying, okay, well, this is where my value is. This is where I contribute. This is where I make the biggest difference. So my particular energy type, I've got a lot of wood energy, which is about innovation, challenging the way things are done, looking at things new, and then a lot of earth energy, which is about wanting to understand and make sense of chaos. So we use Rúna's one of our is highly trained in the system. So looking at how you can use the energies to understand the style of business you should have, what you should be doing in this particular part of the business cycle, how you should market yourself, and you use it brilliantly in terms of how you should brand yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of the tools that I it's one of those things that you think afterwards, how did I do things without the vitality test? It's like, how did I do things without my smartphone before, or doing a BLAB, because we're now doing. But to go into that, and people are taking the test, and they get the results of what's their primary and their secondary energy, and moving with that knowledge. Now I know mine, and you know yours, and hopefully the ones who are listening to us, and they will go and take the test and find out for themselves. But I often get the question: are there certain types of energies that should be careful or especially careful about the season ahead, and others that that they see, okay, is this like I'm firewood? Is there something that I'm especially thinking about as a firewood energy? Each energy will have a particular challenge in this next year ahead. There's
something that's quite specific for them. So the year ahead, we're looking at things that are going to be fast moving. You've got to find your place of fun, but you've also got to be very, very selective. So water energy types tend to be quite reflective. They like to weigh things up. This might be dangerous. They tend to have that kind of slightly slower action. There could be a challenge that everything moves so fast while they're thinking about whether this is safe to do or whether they should do it. They might miss the boat. So it's a challenge there. The advantage that they have in this particular year coming up, because it'll be a very noisy, fast talking year with everyone shouting, water energy types tend to have a natural depth and authority to them. So they will be able to stand above the crowd because people just inherently listen to them. So lots of presidents or lots of heads of company have this kind of water energy type, often built on experience, but there's a kind of a high trust level. So as long as they're just doing something, they will probably be fine. But going to this academic state of reflection, which can be their stress response, is the biggest danger. Wood energy types, as the economy really heats up, lots of new things will come on. And the challenge with wood energy types is they just love new things. I can do this and I can do that and I can do this and I can do that and I can do this. And they can start lots and lots of things and just not end up finishing them. And that can be a real challenge, that the speed of everything starts to speed up, more opportunities arrive and they start doing too much. But it's the just not finishing is the challenge. Or their other challenge is that they don't shift and change. They say, I've decided to do this and therefore I will do it, regardless of whether it's working or not. So it can be just a stubbornness that can be their downfall. So I often say, be really, really stubborn on what you decide you want to do, but incredibly flexible about how you're actually going to do it. So keep the end in mind.
I like that.
Don't let go of that.
Yeah.
But just change how you're going to do it. If it's not working, do it differently. So you can have your flexibility, but your stubbornness at the same time. Whereas often other people, they do it the reverse way around, that they're very fluid and changing whatever they're going to do. And but at the same time, they're very fixed as how they're going to do it. It's the worst of both worlds. So be fixed on your end point, but be flexible about how you're going to get there.
So believe in your dream.
Absolutely.
And let go of thinking, which is very much wood, to speak from my wood side of me. But let go of thinking that you know exactly the right road and the only road that should lead me to that thing.
Yeah. Just keep flexible and keep adaptable. How you're going to get there, and you'll be at your happiest. There's nothing worse than for a wood energy type being stuck and trapped in doing something they don't want to do, or something not working. It puts stress in the family and the home, puts stress on us. So that's the challenge for wood energy types. The challenge for fire energy types, because it's a fire energy year, you've got two things happening. You've got their fire and their passion and their excitement and their this and that, and the years like that. So their challenge is not to overheat, not to burn out. And how do you stop yourself burning out? Well, you just get very selective and do the big thing that you need to do, which is to pause and say, leave that with me, I'll think about it, and not say yes straight away. So with the energies, you can use in other energies, you could be put a bit more water energy in there, be a bit more reflective before you say yes. You're never going to be too slow. That's not going to be a problem. Oh, but I want to act quickly. You will always act quickly. But it is a matter of just saying, leave it with me overnight and I'll think about it, or give me a half an hour, whatever. And then you just need to think, can I actually do this? Because fire energy types love to promise in that moment. They say, oh yes, we can do this, and all of a sudden it gets to be too much. So the challenge, the fire energy types are brilliant communicators. Wonderful use of language. They inspire people, they make them passionate, but their challenge is the same thing. They inspire people, they make them passionate. They say, oh, let's do this together. You go, yes, yes, yes. And all of a sudden, on the 30th of December, you're having a BLAB.
Having a BLAB.
And I'm very happy to be, Rúna. I'm very happy to be.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. It makes me so. When it comes to the new season ahead, where what you just said, it's going to be more happier. It's going to be more fun, but you have to be careful of what you are selecting. If you are an earth energy, how does that look like for someone with primary energy with earth?
With earth energy, their big challenge in the year ahead, because it will be quite fast. Earth energy types have a constant desire to try and understand what's going on and what's happening. Do I understand, etc. And that can be their challenge, because if they get too bogged down in that, it can really slow them down. And it will be a fast-moving year. However, they have a massive, massive advantage, because we'll move out of the fire energy economy and we'll move into the earth energy economy, which is all about customer service. It is all about understanding. It is all about listening. It is all about supporting. It's all about creating this solid base. So we all need to slow right down in this coming year, almost go against the energy, and start to really develop strong relationships with our customers, to really understand what they're about, build a community around us. So it's a fantastic year coming up for earth energy types, as long as they're not overwhelmed by the fire. They'll be good at containing it.
Yeah, it will be difficult for someone who wants
and we do need to. Certainly towards the end of 2016, we should have really built up a strong community. We should have a deep understanding about our customers' needs. They should understand where we're coming from. Because as the economy slows down, that will be the thing that will help you survive.
Yeah.
And the differentiator, as the economy slows down, how do we decide where to spend our money? Well, we spend it with people that we know, love, and trust, and we like people that are part of our community. How are you going to create products for people? Well, you create them by understanding what they actually want. So this next phase, although it's very fast and communicating and this passion and the fun stuff, you've got to slow it down a bit in order to be ready for the next part of the economic season, where it's all about customer service.
So what you're saying as well, what I'm hearing here is really from being an entrepreneur and in the marketing section of being an entrepreneur, is to even be more niche oriented, be more targeted. Is that what you're saying? Or?
You know, this is a funny one, because you and I, Rúna, we both have a lot of wood energy. And when they say, you should go really niche, you should trap yourself in, you should narrow yourself in to just doing these, every cell of my body goes, I can't do that. So it isn't really so much as going niche, it's just taking enough time to have the conversation. So the year looks like it's all about talking and communicating and giving your message. But actually, it should be a great chunk of it about listening and understanding and having a two-way conversation.
Yeah.
So that's in a way the secret of that kind of fire energy is actually being able to see what's going on, shine some light, be able to see it, to be able to listen to other people. Whereas fire at its very worst, it's about just shining a light on something, but it's not about just constantly talking, as I'm doing now. It's about listening as well.
Well, that's a really, really interesting thing, and I think, especially speaking as a fire one here, finding it often difficult to really, 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 really listen, which is the key there.
And it's interesting, we see there are certain groups of people within the industry who are always just slightly ahead of the game. And you see, and in beginning of 2015, there was a big, Ryan Levesque with his book Ask, there was a big push towards doing more surveys, finding out what your audience wants. So a group of people that are already surveying, listening and finding out what the audience want, and another group are just transmitting. So I'm just saying in 2016, there will be an even bigger push towards listening, because you need to, you really, really need to. But the energy of the year actually says talk, but actually you should be listening. So you've got to watch that very slightly.
Benefit more by listening. Well, someone has to talk if someone's going to listen. So it's a balance.
Yeah. And then the final one is that kind of metal energy.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
Oh yes. So they're one of their gift is their high level ability to automate and do things in a way that's automatic. There's automation, so use of technology. So they can be naturally very, very good at that, and very, very good at analyzing data. So in a FireMonkey year, you'll have lots of data coming out, lots of conversations.
Yeah.
Their advantage that they will be able to analyze that data very, very well. Their disadvantage will be that their tendency is to step outside and see things from the outside, which is their gift.
Yeah.
But it's also there can be their challenge that they might not be in there having those deep conversations. So it's getting that balance right, having those deep conversations, and then analyzing what is actually being said and breaking it down. So the other energies can have the deep conversations, but they won't analyze it in the way that the meta energies. And you're brilliant like this, Rúna. You're listening, you're great at listening, you're great at communication, and then you have metrics running in the background. Who's visited this, numbers of, etc. Really good balance.
Well, thank you. That's good to know. That's good to know. So hopefully I will survive the 2016.
Yeah. It's going to be a much easier year.
Yeah.
Much easier year.
Yeah. I think it's very exciting. And I think that I often see, with my own life and with my clients' life, that it is actually, we are supposed to be having things in the flow of things and just kind of like, effortlessly happening to us, but we always go somewhere else and thinking that it has to be so difficult. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who thinks that way.
You see, I think it's interesting, Rúna, you being a fire energy type in the fire energy year coming up, and you look at the things that you do. It is absolutely right on target, because you've got to be highly authentic. People understanding what their X factor is absolutely on the money. It's ideal. Your version of it, the sexy factor, which is kind of that other little bit, that charismatic bit that goes on, that's not just about your value and your contribution. Again, it really fits for what's going to go on in the next economy, that we work out and say, well, what is it, the bit about me that makes people go, oh, hello, and all that. And it's about being truly, truly authentic, being naturally who you are. And when we've got our sexy factor, we're just being authentic, we're just being ourselves and not trying to be anything different. So I think the things that you developed over the last kind of 3 or 4 years, particularly the things towards the end of, middle end of 2015, are just spot on for what people need in order to understand what makes them authentic. So it's a good, you're in a good place. What you're doing is absolutely spot on for what's needed. But we'd expect that from you, because you've got lots of wood energy, so you're going to be innovative. Fire energy, so you're going to be fast, you're going to be acting quickly. You get the idea, it's out there.
So yeah. Well, and I know as well from working with you, Nick, I know as well that the things that I do need to be very careful of what I pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that.
Absolutely. But I think
we're having more people joining us, which is
cool.
Really, I'm thrilled with that. And please, if you have any questions or would like to post anything or ask us or even come and be part of the live session here, please let me know. You can send a message to the group board, and we would be happy to give you some insight into more of how you can find your natural vitality and discover your X factor in 2016. But
so I think the real big thing here is about being selective. That's the key. That's the key thing here. Shall I share my favorite being selective technique for the beginning of the year? Shall I share that?
Please, yes.
We're not being very new to BLAB here. People can put a message in here, can't they?
Yeah, they can.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to hear my best selection method,
we'll give you a heads up.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do that. So this is a new. I know you've heard me talk about this before, but I just absolutely love it as a way of doing it. So basically, what you do is you get a big desk or a big table in front of you, and you write on at the top of it, top of the desk, the big table. You write the words 2015. Then you take little post-it notes, and you write on a post-it note something that you've done, something that you are doing and have done in 2015. So it may be my website, or it might be doing this particular project, or it might be answering. So everything that you do, you have to write down on an individual post-it note, and suddenly you have a desk in front of you, a table in front of you, and that's what's on the table. That's what you've done in 2015. And when you do this and you take your time, literally trying to include everything, you often look at the table and you think, my God, I had a lot on the table that I was doing all the time. So then what you do is you have to take everything off the table. And at the top of the table, you write 2016. So this is what's going to be on the table for 2016. And you then have to get a post-it note, and you have to decide actively whether or not you're going to actually put that back on the table. Is it going to be something you want to do? Is it something you're going to continue? It might be a relationship, it might be a job, it might be a goal, it might be something. But you have to actively decide to put it on. Now, some things you can't get out of straight away. So I often put them in a pile. These are things that I'm going to extricate myself, if that's the word, take myself out of as quickly as I possibly can. I'm going to find someone else to do it. I'm going to just not do it at all. I'm going to apologize and say, you know what, I can't do this, whatever. But you have to actively only put back on the table what you're committed to doing. And what it does is it really makes you think about what you actually want to be doing. And it's a strong physical action of putting the thing back on the table again. Because it's back on the table, you've got to do it. You can't put it back on the table and think, oh, I might do it.
No, true.
And the next thing it does is it creates space for new things to come in.
Yeah.
Which you obviously have to be selective about.
Yeah. But I tried this last year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it is, I can really say this is not only effective, it really makes you think about and shows you really how much in control you can be if you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was, I remember, I basically wrote everything down, and I even wrote, I remember at the time, I mean, sometimes there are things in your mind that are maybe not that positive things, and in my case, it was a relationship with someone who's dear to me, and we had been arguing, and I so put down that argument, and that was part of that year. Yeah. And I remember standing there with my, taking it all and doing it, thinking, am I going to take that argument into the new year?
Yeah.
That was a huge aha of how I can just, no, that's going to be 2014, 2015, that's going to have something different. And it's the same thing, I can really see that it's going to be, the argument didn't follow, so I can have that.
You just didn't take it to you in 2015. No. There's also, because I think that's absolutely great, because you can literally just do it with anything, and I think that's a brilliant example that we keep things on the table that don't need to be there. Mm-hmm. So this idea of actually putting everything on and then taking it off and then having to put it back on again is but we can also have that in terms of I often will write kind of old attitudes I have about myself.
Oh.
I'm not good at this, or I can't do that, or I won't be able to do that, or I remember last year I find videos quite tricky. As I say, I have the perfect face for radio, so videos don't tend to work that well for me. I always think I really should have lost some weight and grown a bit more hair. But I put on my 2000. I had my post-it note. I had a limiting set of beliefs that I really don't want to do videos. I'm never going to be good at them. I'm not going to do them. And I thought I'm going to have to put that negative. Do I put that negative belief back on the table again? Now I'm going to hold on to that for 2015, or will I actually put that in the bin and put a post-it note saying I'm going to have a good go at video in 2015? And I did. And I did more video, didn't I? I did.
Yeah.
I did more video.
We did loads of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you actually do look quite fun. You do look great on videos. So,
but it's all about our beliefs. So you can decide what beliefs you want to keep, what arguments you want to keep, but looking at jobs and tasks and stuff. There are obviously challenges, isn't there? Because if we say we're not going to do something, either it doesn't get done or we've got to give it to someone else, and that means you've got to trust them to do it. So how do you find the right person to trust, and so you can get into a whole lot of a different thing. And that's where the vitality test is good, helps you show you who's going to be good to work with, who's going to be a good business partner. And you and I, we have similar energy types. We bounce off each other and give each other ideas, and it's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
Definitely.
Very good.
And I already use that for my clients who are hiring in their staff.
Yeah.
They're using the vitality test to say, is that a match? Like they can do with all the personality tests, but they are using that as a, okay, we need a new member in our team. Is this member going to really fit into our team? Does it share, like you said, share the same values? Does it have does it have what we don't have? Because sometimes we need to have someone who has the skills that we don't have. I mean, if you only have a lot of woods or wood fired in your company, you don't have any metals there. It's just going to be a lot of fun and a lot of ideas, but nothing is going to be done. Nothing's going
to get finished. No. Yeah. So I am looking forward to 2016. I think it's going to be an amazing year.
Yeah.
We know we've got some exciting things planned.
Yep.
Can you talk about your secret mission? One of your.
Well, should I just say it out there? So it's out there in like it said, it's out there in the universe. My plan for the first 90 days. So I make my 90-day plan is solely to focus on more humor in everything that I do.
Sounds good.
And putting more of what I call your sexy factor, helping people to feel confident and really shine from the inside out in their business and in their life. That's going to be my thing, and I'm going to do that by allowing my shaken but not stirred sense of humor to shine. How does that sound?
That sounds good. Yeah. As I was saying, your stuff is ideally suited for this year that's coming up.
Yeah. So I want to join. I personally want to invite people who want to have more fun, who want to shine more from the inside out. I personally want them to invite them to follow me on Twitter, Rúna Magnús, and basically Rúna Magnús is everywhere on the internet. It's the same thing. And I'm happy to give out the things that I already have. There's plenty of free stuff on my website, runamagnus.com, that is involved with your personal brand and discovering and branding your X factors. So what is your pitch, Nick? 2016. What will we see 1 year from now when we do another book?
Well, we've got a new vitality test center up and running. We already had thousands of people take the vitality test, but we're starting in January. We've got a new funky test center, which the vitality test is free. We all know that it's always been free and always will be, but we've got some new ways to interact. So that's going to be really good. We're going to be doing more in Iceland. We're going to do some stuff in the States. We've got quite a few coaches and more coaches training using the system. So it's going to be quite a vital year. It's going to be a good year for us. We're going to be spreading the vitality test out there a lot more. Excellent. And I'm also going to. It's a book I actually should have finished this year because it was very suited to this last year about feeling good about yourself. A book on why it's almost impossible to come out of your childhood with a good sense of self-esteem. It's a book that challenges the whole self-esteem world out there. And I'm so nearly finished it. So I'm going to get that out at the beginning part of 2016, because I think one of the things that will really scupper people is if their self-esteem, their belief in themselves starts to really hold them back in this busy year. So I need to get that book out there because it's, it's quite challenging. It looks at this whole self-esteem industry that's out there that just doesn't make sense because most people still have poor sense of self-esteem.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, unfortunately.
So that's the plan. Yeah. And what I'm going to do at the end of 2016 is I'll do a blab with you, Rúna, and we'll look back and we'll see.
And exactly, and we'll see what did 2016 really give us, and what do we then see 2017 to be? Yeah. Wow.
Because actually, to be fair, we got 2015 pretty spot on.
Yeah, we did.
Didn't we?
We did.
We got it right.
We did.
Yeah. So to be fun.
It will be fun. It will be fun. You have to have focus. You have to know who you are and what you want, and stick with it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Highly authentic. But I do think I also think the other thing is, which you mentioned about being very selective about what you do. But in terms of our business, just listen to your customers more and more, because that will be your differentiating factor going into 2017. You need to have a strong community of people that understand you and you understand them. And if you don't do that this year, you'll struggle in the years afterwards. So the temptation is to speak. The thing you really should do is listen.
Okay, so we make that our last words before we say Happy New Year to everyone out there. Yeah. And Happy New Year to you, Nick.
Yeah, and to you, Rúna. Looking forward to it. Okay. Bye.
Bye.